Our next presentation is also under the open science theme. We have IES-Inria, IES-Inria is the CCSD, which is the team behind the HAL national platform. We have Alain Monteil from IES-Inria and Yannick Barborini, which are representing a larger group, including Bruno and Estelle and Josefina, and myself, working on the archival of software at the HAL National Archive and Software Heritage. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Moran. So thank you for the invitation. I present myself. I'm Alain Monteil from IES-Inria. We have a slide from the desk group of logiciel in French, and Yannick.
Yannick Barborini from CCSD. So I develop the HAL platform.
So we present how we propose the services to researchers to archive and finally tools to cite the code source. So a little presentation of HAL. Maybe somebody doesn't know what is HAL. I hope no. Maybe. And then the group, the collaboration between us. So librarians from INRIA, Estelle, Josefina, and I. IT engineer from Bruno and Yannick from CCSD, and Moran, you are both, I think, with some skill in librarian and some skill in the IT. Then we have two methods to promote code source in HAL, and we describe the first method, source code method, and the second, hope it will be soon operational, the suite method, and then the specific way to archive source code with HAL and Software Heritage. We have a moderation control by librarians, and then the archiving, share, and citation. So,
okay, so I'm going to present the HAL platform. So it's the new logo since Wednesday last week. So it's important to say.
Very important, yes. Most important part of the
So what can I say? So HAL is a French open archive platform. This platform was created in 2001 by a physicist, Franck Ladoué. And this archive was based on the archive platform. What is important in HAL is the funding principle. So we, from the beginning, we promote and we add an OAI PMH platform when showing interoperability. An important point is the stability of identifier. So we assign a persistent identifier to each deposit in HAL. It's important to guarantee the sustainability of the URLs. Thanks to the partnership with the CNES in Montpellier, in France, we send every document in HAL, we send into CNES to be long-term archived. So it's an important point. Another important point is the quality of metadata. When you deposit a document into HAL, you have to describe it and to have very precise information to associate to your documents. It's very important in HAL because that's the main principle in HAL. Because of this precise documentation and metadata to article, we can create some repositories to institution or to universities. The main important point of this structure. what can we say? HAL is a single database. It's important because we have only one database, but we have different portals. So we have a distributed portals. So we have a lot of people work with HAL, but we have only one database. And the last point is the interconnection between the HAL and the different international archive repositories. So the first one was archive. At the beginning, we create a link between HAL and archive. So researcher can submit a paper into HAL, and then we transfer this article into archive. We did the same thing with PubMed Central in life sciences. And after, we have different harvesters. So we have a different aggregator who come to harvest the article in HAL, so it's important. And in 2018, we start a collaboration between HAL, CCSD, Inria team, and Software Heritage, and that's what Alain presents now.
Okay. So, the collaboration. Maybe in introduction, I have to say at Inria, there is a mandate for all researchers to deposit all production in HAL since 2013. So we have the same goals with Software Heritage, which is the ambition to have the whole production of scientists, and Inria ask to scientists to deposit all production in HAL. So I am very happy when Roberto coming to us to work together to propose and to work for a solution for a researcher to promote, archive, and finally cite the code, the source code produced by researcher at Inria. So it was at the beginning of 2017. The first contact with Roberto is a magician. And then we starting to work. We already work since 2005 with CCSD to have the Inria open archive. So it was easy for us to work to make a proposal to have a form for software. And at the beginning, at spring 2018, we have a beta test with some researcher at Inria to help us to propose a form with all metadata, high quality metadata, as Yannick said. And then after a few months, we propose these services for all HAL users, not only Inria. At spring 2020, this is Roberto works. He make a big work to have to include in the bibliotheques world the citation of software. So it is a very important date and step because it is the principal environment for scientists to describe and to make a publication. So we have to have a bibliothèque for software. And then the last evolution, it's now deposit with Sweden. So I will describe this in a few slides, in one slide. And also we have now to work for next step. And I have a slide also for this point. The first method to archive your code in HAL, it's source code method. So you build a repository, an archive repository, a zip folder, and then you put it on HAL. You describe metadata with the form, and then you submit this to the HAL repository. Then we are not sure of the word curators or librarians, look at your submission, check all metadata, check also the folder to be sure to have some file like, of course, author files, README, licenses, and this context.json, because we have to be sure that what you describe is what your code, and to have also the good accreditation for authors, for all authors. Then finally, if all is okay, your code is available on HAL with another notice, and also it is transferred to Software Heritage, available on Software Heritage after a few minutes, and Software Heritage give a suite, very important suite. Yeah. And then you have both identifier, the identifier for metadata, which is HAL identifier, and the suite for the code. The second method, which is be available soon, is directly from your source control system. Then you can use a magic services from Software Heritage called Save Code Now. You put the URL, and then the software gives you a suite immediately. Few seconds. With this suite, you go to HAL, you put this suite, and then Yannick is the magician. You have a part of the metadata field given by the repository, by the suite, and so you have only to complete the metadata in the form, and then you submit to HAL, and same system. You have some librarians to control the metadata. Maybe you can have some discussion with the contributor about the metadata. Metadata can be improved by librarians or by other contributors. Typically, funding is very often missing, but you can add it. And then you have finally the same entry in HAL Software Heritage with both identifier, suite, and HAL identifier. Just a few minutes about the moderation. So behind each deposit in HAL, you have a librarians team who control the metadata. And as Yannick said, it's very important to have a high quality of metadata for aggregator, in fact, to have a good harvesting. And then also, with a very good metadata, you have also a good export format with all information for your deposit. So this is the schema of the moderation, and there is a relation between librarians with the deposit contributor to ask some add, because, for example, the contributor missed to give the licensed file. So we can add some discussion with the contributors, and it is very important too. So why use HAL and Software Heritage? Some accuracy. With HAL and Software Heritage, you have a long-term preservation of your code. It's very important. Identifier is very important. With HAL and Software Heritage, you have two identifiers. The suite, as we said before, it is the mechanism to have an intrinsic identifier to go especially to the code you want to cite, and the HAL identifier to have an identifier to cite the metadata and the way to go to the code. You have a high-level control metadata, of course, with the moderation system and the librarians. With moderation and with HAL, we have also not clearly said, but you have some tools with referential. Referential, thank you. For instance, you have all affiliation structure controlling the system. You have all European projects in the system. You have French INF funding in the system controlled by the librarian. So you have a very high quality from metadata. And then citation is very important since it's it is obviously to use HAL and Software Heritage. If you want to have mechanisms and tools to cite your code, you can have with HAL and Software Heritage. So the benefits with these services, you have a very great visibility. HAL is very well indexed by Google, simply Google. You type some words and it's coming in the first page. As I said before, long-term preservation, high-quality metadata, and some formats, export formats, that could be make it easier to cite the code. Citing your software or your code with HAL. So here, this is on the notice. So you can simply copy and paste in your document. With HAL, you have a code meta JSON from your deposit. So if you don't have,
That's a bibliothèque.
oh, sorry, it's not
No worries.
Well, read my slide. So it's bibliothèque for a station, and this is an example for software in the bibliography or references in document in publication. It is already done for some review, like JTCAN IPScience platform. And also, since last year, it is included in the INRIA annual activity report for all teams. So it's with code meta JSON, in fact.
No
But you can have an export in code meta JSON also for each reference. So why I said very often that you have SWID and you have RID, because the combination of two is the real citation of the software. The SWID gives you the way and the citation to the specific part of the code of your software. And then with the identifier of HAL, you have the citation with the author, titles, and all metadata. Yes, so SWID and HAL. SWID is for exactly what I said, identify the specific artifact. Digital fingerprints for the artifact, it is interesting. And it is necessary for reproducibility archival. And the HAL ID is the reference of an identification, the reference identification, metadata, author, contributors, and it is needed for the credit for authors and for indexation and referencing, particularly for Harvester and Google and so on. So, finally, next step, we have to improve some formats, big tech, and surely TEI. I don't know if somebody used TEI here, but it could be used in some other specific domain, and code meta JSON, and maybe some other export format. We want to work also with the concept of project software. We have some very big development project, like the library CIGAL. You have CIGAL, it's a very, very big library of software, and we have a lot of modules and components. So actually, it is possible to deposit and to have some entries with some modules, but we have to think to have to give a solution for the big library like CIGAL or other development. We have to work also with communication and training, communication to scientific to use HAL and Software Heritage to promote and to archive their code, and also the librarians community to be involved in the moderation system with HAL. And then we have 2 points: the integration in HAL data. This is the particular Sparkle endpoint of the data of HAL to be present in the semantic web. And the last but not least, the make links between publication, data, and software. So this is our objective for this year. Thanks for invitation. And we have some reference at the end to be shared with the other people.
Thank you very much, Alain and Yannick, for this presentation. So they presented, but behind the scenes, there are some people here, including Antoine there, who implemented on the software heritage side the deposit. And there are also other team members that were very much involved, like the one that's fleeing the scene. But yes, there was a very nice collaboration. So thank you very much for bringing this here. Also, I don't know if you saw it, but Jose showed us the policy and the report, this year's task force report. And here it's really an implementation of how to take this kind of reports and policies into institutions and archives. So we are going to work towards this, implementing those policies into different institutions, maybe some of you here. So thank you again, and I will let you leave, and I will take Nicola there. Oh, questions? No, we don't have time for questions. You'll need to get that at the social dinner. Sorry. I'm so sorry.